The film opens on Nick Escalante, a man who's seen too much of Las Vegas and not enough of anywhere else. He's parked at a bar, nursing a drink, his eyes locked on a beautiful woman named Doris across the room. There's something magnetic about the way he watches her, like a man who knows exactly what he wants, but is too smart to rush toward it. But before Nick can make a move, a man named Ozzy walks in and takes a seat across from Doris. He's her boyfriend, and he's a gambler with a pitch ready. Come to the casino with me, bring me your luck, and maybe we'll never have to work again. Doris doesn't buy it. She's heard this speech before, and she snaps at him right there at the table. Nick watches the whole thing unfold with the calm of someone who's seen this movie 100 times. He finishes his drink, walks over, and starts flirting with Doris right in front of Ozzy. Ozzy rises to fight, and Nick does something almost theatrical in response. He yanks the wig clean off Ozzy's head and stands there grinning as Ozzy stands exposed and humiliated. Doris has had enough. She grabs Ozzy and pulls him toward the door, but Nick follows them out, and that calculated taunting pushes Ozzy past his breaking point. Ozzy spins around and drops Nick to the ground with one solid punch. Doris stares. She didn't know Ozzy had that in him. Her arms are around him before he even catches his breath. Across town, at that exact moment, a young woman named Holly is thrown from a moving car in front of a hospital. She hits the pavement hard, barely able to move, her face and body covered in bruises. A doctor stepping outside for a cigarette finds her and rushes her inside. When the medical team asks who she is and what happened, Holly can only repeat one word: Nick. She keeps saying his name until she loses consciousness. The next morning reveals the truth about the bar. It was theater, a paid performance. Ozzy hired Nick to play the bully so he could look brave in front of Doris. Nick did his job, took his agreed-upon fee, and pocketed a $500 bonus on top of it. He drives to work, a law office in Las Vegas, where his job is to protect high rollers at the city's casinos. It's exactly the kind of job that suits a man like Nick. It gives him access, reputation, and a reason to be everywhere. But his life is unstable, his needs are real, and he'll take almost any job that pays, as long as it doesn't compromise the code he still holds on to. While he's talking with the firm's head, Bianchi, a young-looking man named Cyrus walks in, asking for the bodyguard named Nick. Despite Nick's attempt to dodge him, Bianchi points him out. Cyrus introduces himself and explains his situation with disarming candor. He's 32 years old, but he looks 20, and people have been exploiting that his entire life. He's come to Las Vegas to gamble, and he wants a man who can keep things from spiraling if they get ugly. But first, he needs to know who Nick really is. Nick obliges him with a resume that sounds almost too good to be true. Pilot's license, black belt in karate, 3 consecutive Muay Thai championship titles, 4 languages, an economics degree from an American university, and the ability to memorize 3 pages of the New York Times in 5 minutes and recite it word for word 5 weeks later. He pauses after all of that, then adds, almost as a punchline, that his one real flaw is that he lies constantly. Cyrus laughs. He likes Nick immediately. They agree to meet the next day. On his lunch break, Nick stops at his regular diner, and a waitress hands him a note. Holly left it for him. He reads it and drives straight to her apartment without stopping. Holly is one of Nick's closest friends. When he sees her face, the swelling, the bruising, the damage, he goes very still. She tells him what happened. A man with 2 bodyguards lured her to his hotel room, raped her, had his men beat her, and left her for dead in front of a hospital. She doesn't even know his name. She reached out to Nick because he has connections across this city, and she needs to know who this man is so she can take him to court. Nick's instincts do the math immediately. Wealthy gambler or organized crime. And then, in what looks like cold indifference, he tells her he can't help. She needs a lawyer, a private investigator, someone else. Holly pushes back. She knows Nick. She knows what he can do. Nick holds his ground. He warned her before about getting involved with hotel clients. He apologizes, and then he leaves. The moment he's in his car, the mask slips. He drives directly to the hotel where Holly works, slips through the back entrance, and finds Melissa, a friend inside the hotel, and describes the man who did this. Melissa arranges to meet him for lunch. There, she lowers her voice and gives Nick the name, Danny, the son of an Italian mob boss whose father has no one else in the world and guards him accordingly. 2 bodyguards, always. And Melissa makes it plain, those bodyguards alone could end Nick's life without breaking a sweat. Nick listens to every word. Then he decides to do it anyway. That night he meets Cyrus as planned. Cyrus is practically vibrating with excitement. Las Vegas, gambling, the whole spectacle of it. Nick takes him through the city's casinos one by one. Cyrus becomes convinced Nick must be a spy of some kind. His face gives nothing away, ever, and keeps asking which agency he works for. Nick tells him to stop talking and start playing. Cyrus wins a hand and celebrates by buying Nick a drink. But Nick's mind is already somewhere else. He tells Cyrus he has somewhere to be. Cyrus gets nervous, but Nick talks him down. Every casino manager in the city has seen them together tonight. No one is going to bother Cyrus. He'll be back. Then he goes to Holly's apartment and slides her a piece of paper, Danny's name and his room number. He tells her again that he can't get personally involved. It's punishment in some way. He warned her and she didn't listen. Holly looks at him and tells him the truth. Danny threatened to shoot her if she didn't comply. She told him she cared about him because he promised to let her go, and he tortured her anyway. She begs Nick to help her get justice. Nick doesn't answer. He goes straight to Danny's room. He plays the role of a BB associate, BB being the most feared crime boss in Las Vegas. The first guard slams the door in his face. The second hears BB's name and opens it immediately, unwilling to risk the consequences. Nick steps inside and finds Danny in the bathtub, relaxed, entitled. Danny asks what he wants. Nick tells him he's there about the girl from last night. Danny asks if she was pretty. Nick tells him she was, before Danny and his men were done with her. Danny understands. He climbs out of the tub, dismisses everything that happened as mutual fun, and reaches for his gun. He points it directly at Nick and tells him to apologize or die. Nick doesn't flinch. Danny backs off the trigger, but promises to deal with whoever employs Nick and orders his men to throw him out. Nick moves the moment the order is given. He breaks one man's leg and opens the second one's face with a credit card, fast enough that neither of them can process what's happening. Danny fires and misses. Nick flicks the card at Danny's face. Danny crumples to the floor. Nick ties them all up. Holly arrives just then. She came to face him herself. She pulls scissors from her bag and stands over Danny. Danny begs. He offers her $50,000 from his desk drawer. Call it compensation. Call it anything she wants. Holly takes the money and hands it to Nick. Then she turns back to Danny and tells him she can't forgive the man who did what he did to her. Danny is in tears. Holly doesn't care. She hurts him, and then she and Nick walk out the door, leaving Danny broken and weeping on the floor. Outside, Nick tells her to leave Las Vegas tonight. Danny will come for her. Holly agrees, but asks Nick to come with her. He refuses, says he can handle Danny. He tries to give her the money. She refuses. He risked his life for her. The money is his. They go back and forth until Holly tells him to keep half. She gets in her car, says goodbye, and disappears. Nick goes home and stares at $25,000 on the table in front of him. He makes a decision. He is leaving the city. The gambling, the crime, the gray moral air of it. But escape costs money, real money. His dream is a boat, an island, the Mediterranean. Somewhere far enough from all of this that Las Vegas becomes something he used to know. $500,000 would do it, and the only place to find $500,000 in one night is the casino. He sits down at the table, slides a $100 chip to the dealer, and opens with a $10 bet. The dealer looks at him like he's wasting her time. She shouldn't have, because the more Nick plays, the more he wins. And watching Nick play is like watching someone switch into a different gear. He was a gambling addict once. It cost him everything. And tonight, that obsession has come back, but this time it's surgical. Whether he wins or loses, he's leaving Las Vegas after this hand. Danny won't let him stay anyway. He pushes the stakes higher, $1,000 a hand, then more. The casino rotates dealers to break his momentum. He steps back, has a drink, and runs into Cyrus, who had a terrible night. They talk, and something clicks in Nick's mind. He remembers a pattern from earlier. He returns to the table and plays it. Cyrus watches from a few feet away, his eyes growing wider with every hand. Nick lets everything ride every time he wins. He reads the dealer's cards before they're turned. 20 consecutive victories later, the casino floor manager is furious. The entire room has abandoned their own tables to watch, and there's no longer any question. Nick is operating at a level most people in this building have never witnessed. The final hand arrives. The room holds its breath as one. Nick turns over his card. He wins. $500,000. The crowd around him erupts. Cyrus asks Nick what he's going to do with it all. Nick says the Mediterranean. An island, the dream. He gets up and starts walking toward the cashier, and that's the moment the addiction speaks. Every rational reason to stop dissolves. The table is right there. The chips are in his hand. That's the gambling brain. And Nick knows it, and he does it anyway. He goes back. He puts down everything, the $500,000 and the $25,000 from Holly, and in one hand, in one terrible, clarifying second, he loses it all. The dealer looks at him with sympathy. Nick tells her he isn't upset. The crowd applauds him anyway, but alone in the men's room, the weight of it hits him. He had the door open and he walked back in. He drinks until the floor comes up to meet him. He wakes in Cyrus's hotel room. Cyrus paid 2 very large men to carry him there. Then Cyrus sits across from him and tells him the truth, the real truth about himself. He's cowardly. He's afraid that when he's old, teenagers will beat him up in the street because he once saw it happen to someone else. He wants Nick to teach him to fight. He says Nick is the person he wants to be, someone who acts, who moves, who doesn't freeze. He's always dreamed of one genuinely brave moment before he dies. His only tools are his intelligence and his money, and he's willing to use both. He is a programmer. He made $70 million by the time he was 19. He wants to give Nick every dollar he needs. Nick doesn't believe him. He walks to the bar. 2 of Danny's men find him there. They tell him Danny wants to see him. They could not have picked a worse moment in Nick's life to deliver that message. He is at his lowest, humiliated, hollow, still burning from $500,000 lost. And those 2 men walk right into the fire. He takes it all out on them. And when he looks up and realizes the entire casino floor is full of Danny's men, he doesn't retreat. He goes through every single one of them, one by one, until the last man is down and a casino manager asks him to stop. Nick goes to see BB, Vegas's top crime lord and a man who has known Nick for years. BB tells him Danny filed a formal complaint. Nick killed 2 men and stole his money. Nick asks BB if he believes it. BB says if he did, Nick would already be in the ground. But the complaint is real, and so is the meeting. Nick faces Danny directly. Danny performs, tells BB that Nick deceived him, forced his way into his room, attacked his bodyguards, tied them up, shot them, and stole $50,000. He plays the wounded victim beautifully, but then BB says something that cuts through the performance. Nick doesn't need weapons to hurt people. He can do it with his hands. He can do it with an ashtray. Danny goes very still. That's when Nick tells BB everything that happened to Holly and tells him where the proof is. Danny, BB says quietly, take off your pants. BB wants to see the injury and know who's telling the truth. Danny refuses, furious, cornered, exposed. BB looks at him. He says that tells him everything he needs to know. Danny storms out. The next morning, Cyrus meets Nick at the diner for the last time. He's flying home today. He thanks Nick, genuinely from somewhere real, for showing him what courage looks like over the past 2 days. And then he tells him to look under the table. There's a plane ticket to the island, the Mediterranean, and a check for $500,000. Every dollar Nick lost, returned. Before Nick can process it, Danny walks through the door with 4 men, and Cyrus, mild, unassuming, quietly terrified his whole life, stands up on his chair and starts singing, loud, ridiculous, perfect. It gives Nick the window he needs. He bolts from the restaurant. Danny and his men pour out after him. Then Nick drops from the roof, straight onto all of them, with a knife he grabbed on his way out. He moves through Danny's men with a kind of speed that makes it look effortless. Danny orders the rest to push forward. Nick finishes every one of them. Danny has no choice but to face him. The fight is over in seconds, in one punch. Cyrus catches up to Nick before he reaches his car. He hands him the ticket and the check. He says he's proud of himself because today he did something brave. He stood up in a room full of dangerous men and sang just to give his friend a chance to run. He tells Nick he will always be his hero. Nick looks at him, really looks at him, and tells him they're friends now, real friends. He shakes his hand, gets in his car, and drives out of Las Vegas. The city shrinks in his rearview mirror, and then it's gone. And that wraps up today's story. But what did you think of that ending? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, make sure to subscribe to Movie Recaps Hour, and hit the bell icon so you never miss out on the best movies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.